morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Welcome to December.
That was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah, heading down the home stretch for 2023 and getting ready. 3 weeks from today is Christmas.
This year has flown by, Bill. I can't even believe it.
And 4 weeks from today is 2024.
Yes.
Amazing.
Welcome to probably one of the wildest years you will experience in your life. 2024 is probably going to be wild. Some of it's going to be fun and some of it is going to be not so fun.
And we need to be here for you. So please help us out if you possibly can. Tell all your friends. Tell anybody that you know that you do business with that can advertise or make some donations. You can give us a Christmas present by keeping us here.
Yes, go to thelocalspin.com and support us. What are you going to do if we're not here in 2024 for all of this craziness, Bill?
Yeah. All the people that I've heard over the years that said, I'd love to have a locally owned conservative news operation. Well, here we are. And the people who get saying that have been silent as the Sphinx when it comes to opening their wallet.
Yep. Conservatives are known for that, actually.
Yeah, they are, as a matter of fact.
Love to complain, but don't take action. So
that's right.
make sure you are not one of those that you take action.
And the Republicans have done it again. Those towers of tapioca voted to get rid of a Congress, only the sixth time that they've booted somebody out of Congress. So we've got people on the Democrat side that have been sleeping with communist spies. They have been anti-Israel. They have called for the destruction of Israel. And they have kept businesses closed, but that doesn't count. But some guy lied, and he, as a matter of fact, this guy, he ought to rerun as a Democrat because he's got the Democrat record.
Well, and here's the thing, Bill. Getting rid of Santos is a mistake. It's like, do you guys do we like to lose? I feel like they do. I think that they're always going to set us up to lose because
we managed to drop defeat out of the jaws of victory every time.
Yeah. So, I mean, what happens now, Bill? Does the governor now get to appoint someone? Do they have another election? What does this look like?
I think there's an election, but I don't know exactly how New York law works. But again, they don't have laws in New York anymore.
Kathy Hochul will probably just appoint. I don't think she cares about the law. That's kind of her thing. So.
Well, none of the Democrats do. So there you go. It's great to be a Democrat.
It sure is. Well, unless you're in Chicago, because they've had enough.
Oh, good.
Yes, I think that we're finally seeing they have started building two encampments for the illegals to go into because they've already taken over a bunch of schools and things like that in Chicago.
And sports facilities. Yeah. So the kids, can't play soccer, can't play football, they can't play baseball because the homeless are there. Yeah. And the homeless happen to be from another country.
Yep, and the Democrats in Chicago have had enough.
Wow.
Black Americans. We're not African American. We're not people of color. We're not black and brown, minority, BIPOC. None of that. None of that. This is about our people demanding the resources, just as you're giving these people. These newcomers who are walking into this country. And sister, it's correct. How do you take a new group of people that have paid no taxes, can't vote, and you put them in front of the voters?
I'm not going to pay them no damn taxes.
And so we say this to you, Mayor, Governor, President. If you think that they're that powerful that you have to acquiesce and answer to them over us, then you tell them to vote for you in these next elections. You tell them to support your Democratic National Convention. And we're going to show you how we feel about the Democratic National Convention.
Turn it up. Thank you.
If you think you're going to have a peaceful Democratic National Convention in the city of Chicago while our people are starving,
that's right.
Stay tuned.
Right.
Stay tuned.
All right.
Oh, we're not going to stand out idly by. And we ask any of those who are about closing borders. We don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever. As long as you're about closing these borders, we can support you.
That's right.
And anybody who is about open borders, we're against you.
We're against you.
Plain and simple.
So
well, there you go.
They've had enough. If you are for open borders, if you're for continuing the chaos in their city, they're not voting for you. I wonder how that's going to look when the national convention is there for the
Yeah.
Democrats in
It's coming
not
up
too
this
short
summer.
order.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's coming up very shortly for them.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how well received they are when they get there.
Yeah.
People are very upset. I think that this is the first time that communities are feeling like they are not getting their fair share from the government, and that someone else is taking all of that government money.
Well, and have you ever enjoyed going to, like, one of my favorite visits is also to Yosemite National Park, the Grand Tetons. Yellowstone is on my bucket list, but maybe not, because guess where President Bite Me wants to put the illegal aliens now?
As if Biden's border crisis isn't bad enough, this administration is now seeking to convert our national parks, America's most cherished natural treasures and historical sites, into tent cities for illegal aliens. Such actions not only debase our national heritage, but blatantly violate numerous federal statutes, including those governing management and protection of our national parks, NEPA, and the Administrative Procedure Act. How bad is this latest move to convert our national parks to ungovernable tent cities? While Wyoming's effort to prevent catastrophic wildfires destroying our national forests are met with intensive scrutiny from the unelected bureaucrats in this administration, President Biden is categorically exempting the housing of thousands of individuals in our national parks from any type of environmental review. This double standard is indefensible, and the Biden administration's refusal to engage with Congress on this bill only confirms that fact. We need serious reforms to end the flood of illegal immigrants into our nation, not half measures that fail to correct a disaster of this administration's own making and endanger what is the very best idea America ever had. I urge my colleagues to protect our national parks by voting in favor of the bill. And with that, I yield back.
Amen to that.
And for those of you that don't know who that is, she is the one that beat out Liz Cheney. Thank you, Hageman, for doing that for us. It was a gift.
And Liz is back in the news. Of course, she's a media darling.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. That's what usually happens when you become a Democrat.
That's right, yeah.
The media loves you. But here's the thing, Bill. So I come from Utah, right? We have 5 national parks in Utah. A big portion of our state is dedicated to national parks. This would be a travesty. They have so many rules in the national parks of littering and what you can and can't take in. If your dog is allowed in there, but yet you're going to set up tent cities there? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
This is insanity on a scale that you can't even believe. If you'd have written a book about this 5 or 10 years ago, you'd have been thrown out of every publisher's office. You'd have had to self-publish the book, and even the printing press might not have allowed you to print it.
No,
It's just disgusting what they're doing to destroy this country. And if you vote for a Democrat, then pox on both your houses.
Well, and these tent cities that they're talking about happening in Gavin Newsom's California. Someone was on the ground there over the weekend, and this is what our national parks could look like.
Back in Sacramento, California, where Gavin Newsom wants you to believe that they're fixing the problem with homelessness. This is Gavin Newsom's California. If you like poverty, keep voting for Democrats. If you like drug use being promoted in public, keep voting for Democrats. If you like human feces on your sidewalks and homeless encampments in front of your businesses, if you like higher taxes, higher gas prices, and a lower standard of living, if you like BLM thugs being able to rob at will while law-abiding citizens are criminalized by liberal DAs, if you like illegal aliens invading our country while homeless veterans sleep outside, if you like men being able to use your daughter's restrooms and play on your daughter's sports teams, if you like giving away our weapons to terrorist organizations and sending billions of dollars to fight other nations' wars while our country's going bankrupt, if you like politicians who always promise but never deliver, then just keep voting for Democrats. But if you're as sick of this as I am, stop voting for them.
I
Boy,
mean,
that's the truth.
Here's the thing, Bill. I don't want to live in that community. I don't want to live in a place where they're allowed to have all these tents put up, where you're walking in a park and there's just people that can just live there. And this is northern California. For those of you that don't know how California is set up, this is pretty far north.
He said Sacramento, didn't he? That's the capital.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's North California.
Yes. So, scary stuff we're kind of looking at here, Bill. And
I wouldn't have expected to see this in the poorest African country on the planet.
No,
To walk down one of their streets, even if it wasn't paved, to see something like this. And we're allowing this in America? Any of those people studying to be civil engineers?
I highly doubt it. Lizzie Warren is with us this morning. She says Delaware would make a great tent city, the whole state.
Yeah.
Mary McCann Hybrider, unbelievable. Why does anyone vote for this? I couldn't tell you. I don't really know what has happened to California. California gave us the great Ronald Reagan. He was the governor there.
Twice.
And not really sure what has happened. I think a lot of the voting laws have helped them be able to reelect Democrats because ballot harvesting is allowed.
Well,
ballot harvesting is a very dangerous thing that we have in this country.
And you had a shift in the population with all the illegal aliens, mostly from Mexico at that point coming in.
Yep.
And they all vote for Democrats for the most part.
Yep.
Some of them are coming to their senses.
We'll see how that ends up, but they're estimating that we are going to be paying $451 billion a year for these illegal immigrants. That's $1.25 billion a day for housing and care for illegals, while most of Americans struggle.
That's your money.
And veterans are homeless. So
that's your money. In fact, not only veterans are homeless, they're making more veterans homeless because they're throwing them out in some facilities to put in the illegal aliens.
Yes, and
this is stupidity and treason on a scale that is unfathomable.
Well, and Lizzie Warren says homeless are encamped around the Georgia state capitol. I don't know when the last time you were up at the Capitol, but it's I don't like even going up there because the Capitol should be preserved in a way that when you go up there, there's a sense of pride about your state. But
exactly.
When you go up there and there's all these homeless people around and they're like sitting outside the Capitol gates, it's just, I mean, I don't like it, Bill. I do not like it. And there are no easy answers here. There's no easy way to fix this homelessness problem. However, we have to start giving people a purpose. Communities need to start getting involved and stop relying on the government because the more the government gets involved, the worse it's going to get.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that with the vigilantism hasn't gone to a bigger point. There was a series on Fox and Friends this morning. I watch Fox, so you don't have to. But the bodega president of the bodegas, right, have that they said that they have something like 78% now of their store owners are armed. They put in for all sorts of gun permits and everything else because they're tired of being robbed on a daily basis, and this has to stop. And this is going to cause vigilantism.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt about it.
Well, and Steve Stanton Sr. says, want to fix homeless problem? Invite Chairman Xi to your city. But he has to stay there for as soon as he was gone, they were back. So
Xi Jinping.
Yes, but there is
really cleaned up San Francisco, didn't he?
Yes, very quickly. But there is a governor that is trying to do something. I will say, I'm not really sure why we're making more laws, even though the laws are already here in this country. But Governor Abbott is talking about the law that he's about to sign about making it illegal to be illegal in his state.
Let me get your take on the assessment today of the southern border. We know that we've seen new numbers of would-be terrorists coming through. What can you tell us about the apprehensions today? Is it the worst it's been, or has it been alleviated a bit?
Well, I'll tell you a couple of things very interesting. For one, the problem is extraordinarily bad. The numbers are high, and it's because Joe Biden continues to lay out the welcome mat, welcoming illegal immigrants into the United States of America. That said, what we've seen in our numbers in the state of Texas is because of the wall that we have built, because of these razor wire barriers that we have built, Texas is now no longer the #1 illegal entry point. It is the Tucson sector, the San Diego sector, and other states. And Texas is causing the cartels to have to alter their routes, their routes where people are coming across the border illegally. That said, Texas is having to step up and do even more to make sure that we deny illegal entry into the state of Texas. And as a result, Maria, in 2 weeks, I'll be signing a new from another country illegally and authorizing every peace officer in the state of Texas to arrest those people entering our country illegally.
Wow.
I mean, I think that that's interesting that he has to sign a law because it's in the name. They're illegal immigrants.
Exactly.
They entered the country illegally. Therefore, they entered the state of Texas illegally.
Yeah,
Very
the
interesting.
dreamers. Yeah.
That we have to make laws on laws, but I guess if that's what he has to do in order to enforce something, I guess good for him. But I was a little confused by that, Bill.
Yeah, and then they're being sued now because of the razor wire and the barriers that they've been put up. They said, well, the illegal aliens could drown as they come. Well, don't come across.
That's the whole point.
You're disobeying the border czar's orders when she said, "Don't come, don't come." Remember that a couple of years ago? Don't come.
When there are consequences or big risks involved, that's how you deter people from coming here. Is that right? Isn't that how you deter crime usually?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, you start mountain climbing, you could fall off. Yeah, so we don't cut the mountains down. Meanwhile, we're going to be talking about your finances. Travis Chant's going to be dropping by. Also later, second part of our interview with Bubba Hope, his book out, Mob Island, about the Teamsters on Wilmington Island and the mob involvement and some of the things that happened as a consequence. We'll talk about football playoffs. Who are these sub-morons that are picking who's going to the championship round? Georgia loses by a field goal. And after a winning streak of 29 games, and they don't get in the championship, but Alabama does, that beat them, technically. And also congratulations to Savannah Christian, our only high school team that has made it to the finals after our other teams lost. So 2 long winning streaks have gone by the wayside. And we'll be talking about that a little later on in the program, too. So stick around, get real. Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
What happened?
Well, when you opened up the Chewy box, you went a bit...
bonkers. That's one word for it.
I guess I blacked out. This is the best squeaky toy ever.
Probably shouldn't, but we did get you a few more gifts.
Honey.
Ooh, there's more.
Chewy's prices were so great.
You don't need to explain yourself, Linda. Keep on saving.
Pets aren't just pets. They're more.
Well, I hope I got a leaf blower this year.
You got a turtleneck.
Unwrap the excitement this holiday season with great deals from Chewy.
Welcome back to Get Real America, and it's time to check in once again with our good buddy Travis Chant of CFG Wealth Management, see how things are going on the market and what you can do to help preserve your wealth and save some money, especially with this holiday season. Looks like it's off to a roaring start. I understand Black Friday was and Cyber Monday was a pretty big hit there. Travis, good morning.
It was. Bill, good morning. Good to see you. Thanksgiving. I hope all was well with you and the fam for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Everybody good?
Likewise. Yeah. We had a great time up in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, well, hey, and you know what? There's abs. I would much rather have been at the beach and lounging around with probably the Edwards clan, because I was cooking like a short order cook at Waffle House on Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
I normally do all the cooking, turkey, ham, the whole nine, and it was late nights and early morning. So, love the family, love to do it, but it got a little bit daunting this year. But anyway, so getting back to your question on Black Friday, yes, Black Friday was a much bigger hit, and we talked about this, for the listeners who were listening a couple weeks back, when I said I thought that the retailers weren't going to have these monumental numbers, but I thought they would have good and steady growth. Well, I was wrong. It was much bigger than anticipated in some economists. So I think what that just shows is, Bill, the overall consumer, the citizens still have cash. They still have money to spend. One thing I will say though, and I don't know if you saw this, but are you familiar with like the companies like Affirm, PayPal, a lot of your what I call it basically digital layaway. It's basically the buy now, pay later.
Yeah.
Well, those saw a huge influx. So I do think that inflation's starting to take a bite out of it, or bite out of the consumer. But I do think that they're starting to utilize other resources like Affirm, like PayPal, to make these purchases anyway. So, I mean, they're just, we're as a consumer economy, we keep kicking the can down the road, and hopefully it never gets too heavy to kick. But yeah, the buy now, pay later are really a beneficiary.
Well, glad and that's one of the things I think that we were worried about more than anything else, Travis, is we keep hearing all these stories about how we are in the biggest credit card debt in the nation's history.
Yeah, it's. I wish I had something. As you said, poetic to give you on this, and more Longfellow and Shakespeare than my normal. But I don't. I honestly think, Bill, you and I've talked about it. There will be a reckoning. There will be a day where we have to deal with this. Is that day today? I don't think so. But, folks, there are those out there that are starting to realize, these 22-30% credit card rates, they're getting pretty heavy, and we're still spending. But at some point, I think that's what, like Bill Ackman, he was quoted as saying last night, it was on the news, on the wire this morning, about if the Fed doesn't hurry up and start cutting rates in Q1, we could see the economy fall off a cliff. Now, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I don't think it's going to fall off a cliff. But are we going to start to see a even more pronounced slowdown? Yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, interest rates, the short end, the long end, they're all up. Interest rates on credit cards, autos, houses, everything's up. And eventually, you want to dance, you got to pay the band. And we can't keep kicking this down the road forever. And eventually, we'll have to have a day of reckoning.
I know it's probably a pipe dream, Travis, but I would like to see the credit card companies, those of us who pay our credit cards on time, not
off
late,
every month,
or either off every month or at least pay way above the minimum. Let's say we owe $6,000 on a credit card, and you pay $400 or $500 for what was usually like a $99 charge. That they would not charge us the heavy interest rates. They would charge that to the people who are kind of, shall we say, delinquent.
You can thank President Obama for that one.
I'm sure. I have a lot to thank.
Well, no, if you remember, I don't know if you remember this, but it was also around the same time that you had the credit card, and this is 15 years ago, right? So you had the credit card companies prior to 2008. Before the alleged Biden MBNA alliance, before Pelosi got the inside scoop on Visa. All of a sudden, you went from having credit cards that had a fixed interest rate of like 6 or 7 or 8%. Well, then it went to a variable rate, and everybody across the board started paying more. And, under the Obama administration, credit card companies got a lot more flexibility. And now we have the state of the credit card industry that we have right now. So if you're out there listening and you don't agree with that, that's fine. That's my interpretation, because that's what the facts say. Under Obama, we went from one methodology to another. It definitely did not help the consumer. It helped the credit card companies. Would it be nice if they would do what you're talking about? Would it be probably, in my opinion, advantageous for them, so it would promote more of their consumers to use their cards? Probably. But are they going to do it, Bill? No. It's much easier to have predatory lending, and that's my opinion. That's what you're charging 30%. It's easier to go down to your loan shark and get $10,000 or $20,000 at a cheaper rate.
Boy, that's the truth. Now, how does that correlate to our savings, though? And what you do as far as looking at the market, looking at investments, and seeing how we can sort of overcome that, or make sure that by the time we retire, that there's a nice little nest egg there to keep us happy.
So the axe cuts both ways, right? The interest rates have definitely been impacted, and that hurts us on the consumption side. On the saving side, it is actually something that has been in some areas more of a tailwind than a headwind, because now retirees, everyone out there in a money market, CD, checking, they can get 4, 5, even some cases higher interest rates, for savings that, say, just 24 months, 36 months ago, they were in the 0.5%, 1% range, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is definitely creating more opportunity for savers. It is giving some low-hanging fruit opportunities, which we have been picking with both hands in 2 baskets. But at some point, will it change? It sure will. And if interest rates do start to drastically come down, then that's probably going to be a good thing for the markets. Case in point, you and I have been talking for months and months, and back from August till about October, we were talking about the interest rate environment going from, in the 4s up to almost 5.1% in October. Well, one of the things that I talked about was, if interest rates at all begin to decline, we're going to see, in the oversold conditions, we're going to see the market probably respond pretty favorably. And it has. Over the last 4 weeks, it's up, 8, 9%.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for those that are out there listening, it's one of those things where it's going to affect us differently on both sides. We love having the safe money and the save, 4 or 5%. But at some point, if we want our equities to perform, or if they're going to perform or outperform, I should say, our interest rates potentially going to have to come down, probably. So, that's the reason why we recommend diversification. Don't get all your eggs in one basket. Make sure you're doing what you need to be doing. Good portfolio management. If you do that, you're going to be able to weather pretty much any storm.
Yeah. Travis, I think one of the things that people look at and they say, and of course what you hear from the Democrat side especially, is that, look, the stock market is up, inflation is coming down, and most people say, okay, if it's coming down, how come I'm still paying twice as much for eggs as I was 3 years ago, or still paying a $3 plus gas? Instead of back at the $2 low $2 range that were when we had a real president.
So, I'm sorry. So, all right, I don't disagree with anything you just said.
Yes.
But let me give you my take on this.
Sure.
So, you and I both know this. Inflation is sticky. We are never going to go back. 2019, we saw massive inflation to where we are. The most we can hope for is for it to flatline. It is not going to go back to where we were. And I think that's what we're all coming to grips with is, we're seeing this inflation stick around, and at first it's like we're tolerating it because we anticipate, at some point it'll recede. It will never recede. The only way that it's going to recede is if we have a massive recession or a correction that like we had 2008, which we don't want, but that's what's going to happen to bring prices back down to where they were. Are they going to happen? I don't think so. Are we going to see the economy fall off a cliff? Well, Bill, we just came out with GDP, the revision today, and it was 5.2%, not 4.9. Mm-hmm. That's not an economy about to be on the verge of collapse, right? That's right. A pretty robust economy. So I don't think, as long as it's a double-edged sword, as long as we keep having the same strength of economy, are we going to get any relief? Probably not. We're just going to have to learn to deal with it. That's unfortunate, because a lot of your retirees and savers, they had a number in mind they thought they would need every month to live, and now that number is that number plus X. And the problem is can their portfolio produce X? And some are going to and some aren't. So it's definitely a very fine line to walk.
Well, I think that's the reason that, once again, we keep stressing to people, and we can't stress it enough. And every once in a while, we might even have new listeners. Who knew? But that have somebody like you that keeps an eye on things like that, because we don't have time to. Most of us have very busy lives, and life gets in the way. So it is important to have a financial advisor of some kind. And I know that you probably have people come to you who are maybe starting you very, very late to do something, but for God's sakes, do something.
Absolutely, Bill. The best time to plant a tree is 30 years ago. The next best time's today. You can't go back. You can only go forward. There's typically a solution, just takes a little work sometimes to find it. But yes, that is exactly why we do what we do, and why we serve our clients, and why we get up every morning is to try to help that person out there, that instead of having that wall of worry they have to climb every day, show them a path over it, achieve it, overcome it, and move on, and actually have the retirement they want to. So yeah, I definitely agree with everything you just said. It's very important to have a steady hand flying the plane, instead of being up there having to feel the gyrations and the turbulence every time something happens.
Well, tell people how they can get in touch, and to do no obligation, at least have a conversation.
Absolutely, Bill. For those that are listeners of Bill's show, we have consistently offered this. We will continue to, and Bill, and we believe in this show, and we want you to be in a better position financially, mentally, emotionally, and that's only going to come from actually getting a steady hand and getting professional guidance. Give us a call, 877-269-0839. That's 877-269-0839. And if you mention that you heard us on Bill's show, we will give you a 20-minute Ask Us Anything session. We'll either set it up by phone. You can drop by one of our offices in Bluffton, Savannah, or Statesboro, and we will get you on the right path to your retirement success.
All right. Godspeed, Travis. Talk to you again next week, and hope you have a great Christmas season. We'll talk more about it again in about 7 days.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. Have a good week.
You too. We'll be right back.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit. Welcome back to Get Real America. Honor and a pleasure to have Savannah attorney, retired attorney Bubba Hope with us this morning. And he has just come out with a book called Mob Island. And Bubba, congratulations on this. And I hope it's going to be an international bestseller. Did you ever fear, since there was a mob connection there, even though Lou wasn't part of it, and you became good friends, did you ever fear for your own life
There
that
were
you might be a
two
hit?
attempts on my life. I went to a national convention of the JCs. I was a national director. I had an airplane, a twin-engine air commander, and me and a couple of JCs flew to Chicago for the convention. And the day before I was to leave, I got a call from Louis the Tailor, and he said, I got a friend that I'm going to play golf with. I want you to bring him back with you if it's okay. And I said, sure. And he told me what time he would be at O'Hare to get on board with my plane. Then Lou says, but before you leave, make sure you call me. I said, sure. So the next day we were to leave. I called Lou. He said, let me talk to the private plane director. He had the plane tested for sugar in the gas tanks. They did the test and it was loaded. Had we taken off, we would have not gone 3 or 4 miles and it would have gone down. So anyway, they had to drain my engines and gas tanks and everything. That was one attempt. Second attempt came, I had represented a fella out of Charlotte who I was asked to defend on multi-million-dollar counterfeit schemes out of Columbia and Myrtle Beach. I won the case except for one count, and he got 6 months to prison, federal. He skipped bond, so they dismissed his appeal. Now, I got a call about 6 months later, and it was this fella. And I said, David, you need to turn yourself in so I can finish the appeal. He said, no, you're going to finish the appeal without me coming in. I said, no, I'm not. He said, well, look out your window and you're going to see the DeSoto Hotel. I'm over here. He identified what I was wearing, and my daughter was spending the weekend over at Bluffton with some schoolmates. And he told me where she was and that he would kidnap her. And I said, no. I hung up on him. I called Lou and I told him what just happened. And he sent a couple of automobiles to Bluffton. And I said, I didn't want my daughter to know that she's in danger. And please don't let her know that somebody's protecting her. And also that applied to my wife. He sent them over and it took about 2 months. During the meantime, he had tried to enter my office before I left to go to Bluffton. But that was 2 of them. I knew what it was to be threatened because when you represented all these crazy cases, I had death threats all the time, but I couldn't let it bother me. When I see most people threatened back then, and that was just a threat. My airplane eventually went down, incidentally. It crashed out at Travis Field, and I wasn't in the plane, but I don't fly. And so my Chris flies, and my oldest son flies, but I don't. I drive.
I can understand that. Bubba, what you started something? Did you go to prison?
Oh yes, nothing related to this other than it was payback. Had a couple of restaurants, and I sold them. I violated. They said I violated the Securities Act. I didn't give all of the information. It was a stock sale. But anyway, I went to prison for that. That was just their way of paying me back. I didn't get along with the DA's office after.
No.
Now, I did get along with the Bubsy Ryan, who was a good friend of mine.
Right.
And me and him fought. We fought each other in the court. We were good friends later. So
when you went to prison, obviously you met people, and they say everybody says they're innocent. but you started a crusade to get people out of jail that you knew were innocent or could prove it.
Yes.
And it is documented in your book. How did that come about? When did you decide, hey, I got to get these people out of here?
When I went in, the biggest thing I saw was that there were people, and mainly men, who never got visits. The family couldn't afford to drive wherever they were at.
Right.
And I started a ministry of under the least of mine, and on Saturdays and Sundays, taking families to prison. But I also knew of men that were not guilty, and I started petitioning the parole board. I spent on Matthew as an example. I went to Reedsville to speak to the inmates that were allowed to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
This was like 10 years after Matthews was convicted and put in prison. He was at Reedsville. Toward the beginning of my testimony to these men, I saw a man enter from the rear, and I recognized him. It looked like Matthew Washington. He came walking straight down toward me, got up on the stage, and he shook my hand and hugged me. And he said, "God bless you, Mr. Hope. I know I have a friend in you." That relationship began to be personal with me. I would take his mother to go see him. I could get in. I was allowed. And I was known as the pastor during that time in prison at Reedsville. It became a part of my life. There's another pastor in Savannah, Bobby Gale.
Mm-hmm.
He has under the least of his. And I owe Matthew Washington not only the brothers, but he was wrongfully dealt with by Savannah, by the state of Georgia. It changed my life. Back then, you think you're important when you know Dean Martin or Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, right.
And I played golf with them, and I was there when they argued with each other. I was there when they had too much to drink and started talking too much. And that's when I knew I had to leave, and because I didn't want to hear all of it. The book goes into details. I'm just happy that I'm alive and able to talk about it.
Well, we are too. I mean, it's very eye-opening, and like I said, I've gotten a lot of exercise from jaw dropping the last 24 hours with it as well. And you said finally that it finally got to you. I mean, it had to sooner or later of just having to defend a lot of people who really should have gotten 30 days in the electric chair.
That's right, and I knew when it was over, because see, out at Savannah Inn, they were telling on each other.
Yeah.
And Lou, who was my friend for about 12 years, one day he was gone. He never said goodbye. He was gone. The guys that I knew there, they were gone. And if you look at the end of the book, it said, I realized that everyone had left. And what was more significant to me was when I first started in this practice and representing the individuals, we would go to the park, Forsyth Park. Everybody went to Forsyth Park to feed the pigeons. On Sunday, that's where you strolled the new baby. That's where you took your Easter pictures. And you fed the pigeons and the squirrels. I realized I was sitting there at the end that the pigeons had left. And nobody realized that. The pigeons left Forsyth Park at that time. I left. And I knew it was over. My life had to change. But I wanted everybody to know, and in the book I detailed why I know, how the plane landed and what the package was. I know this from listening. I was not there at the time, but I knew something had happened because one of the golf holes was completely done over in one night. And then I started inquiring about it. I want the Hoffa family to have their leader back home. I never met Hoffa. I met people who were close to Hoffa, and I met enemies of Hoffa, but I never met him. I want that put to rest too. And the FBI knows about it. They 2 years ago, I took them to the spot. Fox News, they did a feature on it. Now that they've run out of places where he could be, the last place is down in Savannah, and he's there.
I'll be darned.
My family survived.
Yeah, that's good news.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And by the way, on that Mob Island, that's a great stocking stuffer for Christmas. It'll be some jaw droppers for you. So thanks, Bubba Hope, for that interview.
Yes, and Mary McCann Hyber said she already purchased the book. And in regards to your interview with Travis, Dave Ramsey method to debt is what Steve Stanton Sr. says.
Dave Ramsey what?
Method.
Oh, yeah.
To debt.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
One thing we want to touch on really quickly before we move on is we mentioned Santos was ejected from the House over the weekend, and our very own Buddy Carter voted for that. So just so you guys know.
And so did Rick Allen, right up the road in Statesboro.
Yeah. So
shame on you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're voting. You're voting to water down your power. This is pathetic.
Well, and here's the other thing. Like, we try to live on some sort of moral high ground when it benefits us or when we think that we're going to get points for that. But at the end of the day, this is about winning and losing. And we don't have that many seats in majority in the House. And so to lose one, again, I'm not sure what happens if there's an election or if someone is appointed, but I think it's dangerous territory.
Yeah.
For the Republicans.
Santos ought to turn around and run as a Democrat because he has all the qualifications.
Yep. But anyways, just thought we should let you know how you're...
Apparently sleeping with a Chinese spy is not a big deal. Calling for the death of Israel is not a big deal. Calling for defunding the police is not a big deal. But this guy, lying about whether or not he was Jewish or lying about whether or not he was using his campaign funds for something. I know that no Democrats do that, of course. They're on the moral high ground.
Well, I'm sorry. If we looked into some of the Republicans, I think that they would have a lot of stuff to answer for.
Yep.
So it's very interesting that they've targeted Santos for whatever reason. I don't agree with lying, any of that. But at the end of the day, this is all about strategy. And apparently Republicans just don't believe in one. Mm-hmm. So very exciting for us. Isn't it fun to be a Republican sometimes?
It sure is.
But One American News ran into Aaron Agnew, who is he's one of the personalities on the New Man News Network, which is a Christian ministry network reaching out to people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he had to say about who should run this country.
And whose advice? Here's some advice from him.
What's your prayer for 2024?
Oh my God. You know, I saw a video and I'm really praying because I would say that what we're looking at today is a man, Donald Trump actually, who is against the odds. He's against the odds. And the only reason that I can say today that I can still support him is because he's not a politician. He can't be bought out because he already has money. And it seems like the whole world is against him. So for me, I think if America's going to have any chance at all, we better vote for Donald Trump. If anybody else gets in office, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And so my prayer is that, first of all, the church would wake up, the preachers would wake up, and then the citizens of America can hear the voice of what's coming from those who really know God and know what we need in this nation. And so that's my prayer for America today.
God bless you.
Hey, God bless you.
Great to meet you.
Mm-hmm. Well, way to go, Pastor.
Yeah, and I think
I'm
there's a lot of people turning around onto Donald Trump. I think that people are realizing that it maybe wasn't as bad as the news media made it seem when Trump was around. Also, anyone that has been a part of the DeSantis campaign and things like that, or have been critical of DeSantis in any way, has received a lot of backlash from their campaign. Their campaign has been very vicious, especially towards Trump supporters. I believe that over the weekend, they've now had 4 people that have resigned from the DeSantis campaign, which to me is a huge indicator that they know that the jig's up and that it's probably not going to go that well for anyone running for president, especially since Nikki Haley is picking up a lot of endorsements. So they're trying to make her the darling of the Republican Party. Don't think it's going to work, especially not against Donald Trump, but we will see how that plays out.
Your enemy is Joe Biden. Okay, your enemy is the Democrats. It's not Donald Trump. Okay, get on board.
And Bill Mitchell, he's a known podcaster. For those of you that don't know, he has a podcast, and it's called "When Love Hurts" or "When Dating Hurts," and it's because his daughter was actually killed in a domestic violence situation with her boyfriend. But he's been very critical of Trump and very pro DeSantis, but sending out some apologies over the weekend.
And so when we do choose our nominee, I changed my name to Bill the United because I want us to be able to put down our differences and come together. So I'm offering the fig leaf now. I know that I've been hard on the Trump camp. I've been hard on the Trump people. As far as, really going after, hardcore going after Trump, not going to do that anymore. Not going to do that anymore. And for anybody in the, MAGA Nation that felt like I was, that I personally insulted them, I apologize. I want to mend fences with you guys because at the end of the day, we are going to all have to come together. That's why I have changed my name to Bill the Uniter, because while I am still 100% in the DeSantis camp, and I believe very strongly he will be the nominee, I believe it will be a tragedy if we miss that opportunity. I also want to be more of a pleasant fellow and more of a uniter with those who support other candidates, because I know, hey, you know what? If you love Trump, you love Trump. You feel like he was the one that brought you to the party. You feel like he was the original MAGA guy, the original America First guy. You feel like he was robbed in 2020. You feel like he's been the victim of lawfare with all these indictments. I get it. I understand. I've been where you are. So I want to get along better with you guys. I want to get along better with everybody. God bless everybody. Thank you so much for praying for me. I'm definitely on the mend. You may notice I grew a beard because I was lazy in the hospital. And now that I'm out, I'm also being lazy because it's great not having to shave. So hopefully this isn't too troubling for anybody. So, but anyway, that's it. Love you guys and have a great night. And we'll talk to you soon.
So I think we're going to see a lot of apologies and a lot of people tucking their tail between their legs as soon as we see what Iowa does, because I think Iowa's in January, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
A election season is going to be kicking off, and it is going to be strong, Bill.
Yeah, boy.
Lizzie Warren says the R's that voted to remove Santos actually disenfranchised the voters who chose him. You're absolutely right. Feinstein had a Chinese spy on her staff for years. And Steve Stanton Sr. says indictment means guilty now. And RTR, the greatest coach of all time, GOAT, beat the future GOAT.
All right. I think he's referring to Newt Rodney of
Okay.
Notre Dame. Yeah.
Okay.
He was pretty good.
Yes.
So was John Heisman at Georgia Tech. They even named a trophy for him, if you heard about the Heisman Trophy. Okay. Meanwhile, speaking of football playoffs coming up, and it's interesting. We were talking about the parallel between Benedictine and Georgia. That both had 20-plus winning streaks. Benedictine at 24, Georgia at 29, and both had their winning streaks stopped this weekend. So, but Savannah Christian and Calvary also lost. So did Bryan County. But Savannah Christian came through. They'll be playing for the championship. And it's real convenient for you football fans to get to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which I think is one of the ugliest buildings I've ever seen. But nevertheless, it cost a lot of money.
There you go.
And God knows we didn't need another dome stadium in Atlanta, but we got one. Meanwhile, the real convenient for you Savannah Christian fans, because the game is going to be at 1 o'clock next Wednesday, the 14th.
Okay.
So I'm sure you'll be on Christmas vacation, so you can ride. It's a 4-hour drive up to Atlanta, or if you have a plane, it's 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go up there and enjoy the game. It'll be televised, of course, but 1 o'clock Wednesday, the 14th of December. Way to go. So, but Savannah Christian was a winner over Carver Columbus, 51-26 over the weekend. Congratulations to them. They've been absent from the playoffs since 2018, and we're glad to see them back. And we'll be talking more about them also. Meanwhile, the college football playoffs. Whew. What in God's name is the matter with these people? Georgia lost to Alabama, and I am mad with Coach Kirby Smart because he got outcoached again. And this is a coach that's been offered. I think Texas A&M was talking about making him the highest paid coach in history, and trying to hire him away from Georgia. But there was a very controversial catch on a 4th down play for Alabama late in the first half that led to an Alabama touchdown. You take that touchdown away, Georgia wins the game. And also there was they had the 50-yard field goal is 48, 50-yard field goal that hit the upright. But had it been 5 yards further up, Georgia was penalized for illegal procedure, and they showed the replay on that. And I think one of the linemen did this. Want to see it again? And now I know technically it's illegal. That's a kind of a false start, but it didn't. Nobody on Alabama moved, so it wasn't like they jumped right off sides. So our kicker had to go 5 yards further back. Had been a 45-yard field goal, it would have gone through. It was angling off 5 yards further up, it would have gone right straight through. So there would have at least been a tie at this point, and they're going into a playoffs. And Alabama still could have won, but at least would have had a chance in the overtime. But this catch that took place, I mean, when they showed the replay, it sure looked like that ball hit the ground. But that's just me. And then we had this idiotic playoff system. So Georgia loses one game in the last 30, and they don't get in the championship round. Florida State is undefeated, and they don't get in. But Texas at 12-1 does, same record as Georgia. And Michigan, gag me. That's had their coach on suspension for stealing signs from the other team.
People are so petty.
Yeah, and there was a coach who didn't particularly appreciate it either.
Hurts it as the mind-numbingly short-sighted notion that 4 teams for a playoff, somehow establishes something, and that's a very clever approach. I mean, that's such a brilliant approach. That's why everybody does it that way. I mean, nobody does it that way. I mean, if we were so smart, wouldn't all the other sports say, I know what, let's have a committee, because why not? Because, we're American, we love committees. Let's get us a committee. Well, who should be on the committee? Well, I don't know. This guy's a good guy. Let's have him on the committee. Well, I mean, there's people on the committee that don't even have remote associations with football, nor have they at any level other than being a fan. But you know what? Let's have them on a committee. Why not? And then, I mean, it'd be fun. We'd go to that resort. We could talk. We could hang out at dinner. And then we'll decide which 4 teams should go. Because you know why? We don't need to solve this on the field because we're the ones that know. And then, so, I mean, you know, if we're going to do it that way, we should just ask them at the beginning of the season, you know, just go ahead and you guys vote on it, figure out 1, 2, 3, and 4, and why even have the games? To me, I mean, that's not a playoff. There's nothing playoff about it. And this is even if we make it. Even if we make it, my thoughts don't change. I mean, how can you call it a playoff when there's 4 teams? Conference champions don't even necessarily make the playoffs because you know why? Because the committee knew better.
So that's actually Mike Leach. He was the coach at Texas A&M, and he actually passed away about a year ago. But this has been a huge controversy, and it seems like we're still going to rely on these committees to make these decisions, which seems very odd to me. I thought we played a game. If you won, you moved on. If you lost, you lost.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why we're doing this committee thing. And I don't watch sports, so that's the other thing. That's why Bill explains things in
making
such a
the regular season
way.
Irrelevant is what they're trying to do. They do the same thing in the baseball playoffs, and they're doing it in the NBA. You know, everybody makes the playoffs. It's just ridiculous.
Bring back meritocracy.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we play the whole season to eliminate Phoenix.
Oh my God,
you know,
so ridiculous.
It's unbelievable.
Well,
as the founder of General Motors was working in his lab one day, and a guy came running in and said, Charlie Lindbergh just flew the Atlantic Ocean alone. And he looked up from his work. He says, hell, that ain't nothing. Let him try it with a committee.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Steve Stanton Sr. says there's controversy on both sides. The best team won. Oh, Steve Stanton, those are fighting words. And
that would be the better team won.
And Lizzie Warren says, well, college football is big business. So they're trying to share the largesse. Largesse.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's amazing. College football is definitely a different animal down here than it is where I'm from. You literally plan most things around college football season. If there's a game, don't plan anything.
Alabama was not the better team. I'm sorry. Georgia had a lot of had some key players that were injured that didn't help either. But
how does someone that's undefeated not be able to go to the playoffs?
That's a good question.
I mean, that just seems like ridiculous.
Go to the championship playoffs. Yeah. That's ridiculous. And Michigan does. Oh, please, gag me.
Is this an everyone gets a trophy type of thing? Like, what is this?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I guess they like Michigan.
Everyone gets an opportunity.
Yeah, because they have the ugliest helmet in college football.
We should take a vote.
Gag. All the great things you could do with a Wolverine for a logo, but no, they got that yellow thing that they.
I'll have to look it up. I've never seen it.
The maize and blue. All right.
Oh, well, that's going to wrap us today. But remember to support the local spin and our show, Get Real America. We are trying to change the landscape here in Savannah. We are coming up on an election year, which is probably one of the most important years to have conservative media out there.
We need to be here.
To number one, call out our representatives and how they vote.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys don't have time to look into all of that, so we'll have it here for you. Just like, you heard that Buddy Carter voted to get rid of a Republican, which puts us in less of a majority, which is never a good thing.
And so did Rick Allen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
shame on you.
Yep. Make sure you reach out to them and go to thelocalspin.com. You can become a member. You can donate. You can also tell your friends that have a business to advertise, or if you have a business, make sure you advertise with us.
For sure. Check us out and stay real. God bless. We'll see you
Have a good day.